Hello, everyone. It is such an honor to be part of this panel today. And actually, we will conclude the panel where we started it. And we will talk about the importance of adequate financing of media and media freedom in Europe as a crucial component in building this resilience against disinformation. So, the media plays a crucial role in building democratic resilience against disinformation and manipulation of information. And this issue has been raised and highlighted several times today. And independent journalism, we must recognize that it has always served as an antidote to information manipulation and other tactics that are intended to somehow disrupt the information space. Unfortunately, it is now evident that Europe's media landscape is weakened, and this is fueling the tsunami of disinformation and misinformation that we are experiencing. And as media pluralism is reaching its lowest points, we see a significant spark in disinformation. Despite the efforts to counter it, one aspect that is often overlooked is the financial instability that is facing the news media. And I'm glad that Mr. Dragomir already mentioned and raised some of the crucial challenges that are faced today by the news media in Europe. And partly he addressed some of the points that I also mentioned in my presentation. But generally, an unstable media landscape and ecosystem where independent journalism is not able to perform its role as a watchdog enables and misinformation to thrive. So today I have the honor to share some of the findings from research that CSD has been doing over the past year. And since you're talking about building European holistic approach to these issues that are absolutely cross-border and cannot be faced solely by member states, I will focus on the EU responses to these issues and we'll try to assess their success and also their limitations, and to conclude with some potential solutions that we are trying to put forward in the agenda of the upcoming, like the currently forming European Commission. So we already highlighted the challenges, the main challenges that are facing the media sector in Europe, so I'm not going to repeat them again, but generally, the main issue is that the traditional business models that supported the media sector and the media industry are disrupted, they're heavily damaged, and one of the big reasons is, of course, the digital transition, the increasing role of social media and digital platforms that are taking huge part of the revenues, the advertising revenues that once the media relied on to support themselves financially. So this digital transition is not something new, but still the sector is adapting themselves, and we see different degrees of success in different parts and regions of Europe. So this is combined with the competition for public attention that is more fierce than ever. The abundance of digital content makes it difficult for high quality and content that is actually complying to journalistic standards. It requires time to be produced to compete with the fast-paced information flow in the digital world that is filled with sensationalist, clickbait, deep fakes, and basically information pollution that is spread, is spreading like disinformation and misleading messages. So we observed this shift in the audience and behavior. We already mentioned that. More and more people are using the internet to access news content, to consume news. We already mentioned again the fatigue among a growing part of the population, like they're feeling lost in this battle for truth, and they're just unwilling to get informed, and they prefer to turn to alternative sources like influencers and so on to get informed, which of course is unreliable source of information, and journalists are increasingly losing jobs. Journalists are uncompetitive in this environment. Another phenomenon that we are observing is the so-called news desert that is a result of this market failure, because the best way to describe the environment right now is market failure, because basically the traditional business models are not working anymore, but they are not largely replaced by new models, which leads to many newsrooms, especially small and medium-sized local newsrooms are forced to close, and this leaves huge regions without proper covering of community level reporting, and less scrutiny on the local level. The other category of challenges, again we mentioned it is the media capture that is manifested differently, but I don't want to repeat what we have already said. It is observed in regions, like in our region much more than in Western European part of the, like in the Western European part. The conclusion is that the economic pressures and financial instability is among the main vulnerabilities, and as in many other areas in life, the real independence starts with the financial independence of the sector. Just to illustrate this, we have prepared several graphs that show the growth of advertising revenue of digital platforms, in this case Meta, which was once the main source of profit for newsrooms, and at the same time the declining revenues of both press, printed and digital media in Europe. I will go through these graphs very, very quickly. Again, these show the changing patterns of news media consumption in the EU, demonstrating the growing use of digital, of the internet to access news. So the EU has recognized that this is critical to support media, and it has initiated several regulatory and policy initiatives over the years. Ms. Dana Spinan from the European Commission in the opening session, she mentioned some of them and the most significant ones. So now we have this legal and policy framework that is in place, especially the Digital Services Act, the European Freedom Act, the updated Copyright Directive, the Anti-SLAPP Directive. They give us the legal tools to support media. So all these mark significant steps, but their harmonization remains challenging. And the biggest challenge is actually engaging big tech to comply with the provisions under them. I don't have much time, so I will go very, very briefly through the other slides. So apart from the regulatory initiatives, the EU has provided financial support to the media sector through a very complex scheme of funding programs. As you can see, most of them are dispersed and very fragmented under different DGs. And the effectiveness of these efforts has been hindered by the lack of coordination. And yeah, they didn't manage to gain significant result because of this fragmentation. So a key issue is that we have identified is, this is the scheme. As you can see, the many different programs that support somehow media-related projects that are operated by the EU, but mostly the major ones are Horizon Europe, Creative Europe, and yeah, due to the fragmentation, it's actually very difficult to estimate the amount of financial support that is there. Some suggest a number of 50 million per year dedicated to the media sector, but it is very, very insufficient compared to other critical sectors. So falling short, I will skip some slides. Falling short, we should recognize the consistent effort that the EU have had to support media freedom, and specifically the news media sector, but there are significant gaps that are still remaining. And one of them is that there is widely inadequate distribution of the funding. We have identified different patterns of the allocation of the funds that are largely favoring the so-called legacy media organizations that are mainly located in Western European countries. So, for example, the News Initiative, which is one of the few examples that is addressing specifically the news media sector, over the past 3 years, it has funded around 28 projects, and 54% of the whole funding, which amounts to, so the full funding for the whole project is around 25 billion euros, and 54% of the total funding is actually directed to 4 countries, like Italy, Germany, France, and Belgium, which are all located in the Western Europe. And basically, the current EU approach to finance media, relying basically mostly on grants, is unable to tackle pressing issues in our region, in the Central and Eastern Europe. Also, the market failure remains unaddressed because it is not encouraging enough private capital in the sector, and the big tech companies that have had major impact are not engaged as well sufficiently. So we have prepared a policy agenda, a set of recommendations. Unfortunately, I will not have time to go through them, but we are suggesting mobilizing both private and public capital, blending finance to address these challenges, that is coordinated at the European level. So through the use and allocation of blended finance, they can support the media sector more securely. And this can be achieved by the creation of a blended finance platform, where independent outlets can access funding and different types of capital to implement different projects. Another approach is to replicate or to already build already existing financial instruments to support media that are, for example, modeled after the Jeremy, the Jeremy tool, which is no longer operational, but it has been used to support small and medium enterprises and startups through loans, equities, and guarantees. And this is something that is a gap and currently missing in the EU approach to support news media. Also, in order to engage big tech companies more decisively, we are also putting forward the suggestion of the European Commission to explore the option of introducing a bargaining code that facilitates the compensation negotiation between platforms and news media outlets, and there are already several examples out there in different countries that have introduced such legislation. Of course, it has yielded different results, and so we should learn from their experience when implementing this. For example, Australia, Canada, recently California, they have introduced such codes, and in order to really address the whole union, it should be a European Union legislation. So we talked about that we need structural changes, a structural approach to address these these problems, and this should address the lack of coordination that is currently existing, and the fundamental transformation should be required where all aspects are addressed and all regions, and the framework is created in order to address the specific problems in the most vulnerable regions that are more susceptible to where the media freedom is shrinking the most. And the final message I think that this panel has is that the shrinking media freedom really creates a vacuum in the information sphere, and it leads to decline of the broader European and democratic pillars and values. It leads to decline of the rule of law, freedom of speech is restricted, which creates a space for malign activity to thrive and to spread more and more. So yeah, thank you for your attention, and I will conclude because I overstepped my time. Thank you.